part of it.
So we're going to put the bathrooms past where those doors are now.
Yeah.
The double doors are here, the bathroom will be right to there. These double doors will go away, and the door will go more down here.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why we tore out all the vegetation and we're going to paver that is because eventually that's where the door is going.
So my issue with that is it shouldn't cost $282,000 to renovate a space that size. You're not building anything.
Most of it's the plumbing.
Well, just the plumbing, but that, I mean, you can almost build a house for that.
Well, we can go get other bids.
Yeah, we can get other bids.
Matt,
What do you
seems
think?
like about 200 foot
Yeah.
for renovation.
That's 188 a foot right there.
Yeah,
And that's way over the top.
that seems high, right?
Oh, yeah.
Renovation's
Unless we're doing
closer to 100,
travertine.
right? Yeah.
Gold.
We're not building a
So we're
whole
going-
addition, we're just renovating what we
Okay.
currently have under roof. So,
Okay.
yeah.
1,600 square feet is what it says.
Yep, 1,600 square feet,
So
right there on
1600,
page
So it's a little
2.
less than 188 a foot then, because I did 15.
Middle of
Okay.
page 2, 1,600
And so what
square feet.
what would you think would be a reasonable price for
For
square?
a renovation on this, I think you gotta be closer to 100.
I agree.
Okay.
Including building bathrooms?
Yeah, I mean, the walls are there.
Yeah, they have to bring the walls out. They will have to bring,
Oh, they're, I thought we weren't
this is-
changing footprint.
oh, we have to,
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah.
right now, the ladies'
I know,
room,
yeah, I've
Yeah.
been in there once, I think.
okay, the ladies' room is a single toilet.
Okay.
The men's room is a single toilet and a urinal.
And we need to make it handicap accessible.
You know how
turn
there's an
lane.
overhang, if you remember, there's overhang, you go into the bathrooms, you got the snack shop, and there's double doors going into, what the idea is to basically, that overhang will become
The whole bathroom.
building,
And the door
building
will
the
be over
bathrooms
here.
out, the snack shop will still be there. The double doors where they currently are, move over basically kind of west to where this window is. That would be the double doors and all that.
So the
it
plumbing is a big issue to bring all the plumbing out
Probably
there.
between 100, 100 and a quarter, something like that. I mean, this is, I mean, see houses going up for this price.
Okay.
2,000 square foot homes.
The thing about this too, when you move that door, you need to level that off because it comes out on a flat surface.
Yeah.
You know, that's-
Put some stairs in.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, gentlemen, so where are we now?
So when I'm searching for, reaching out for a loan,
Should we
just
get
to make
some
sure
others?
that we have
Sorry, Chuck,
plenty of
should we get
capacity.
more bids first?
Well, yeah, but I
You're still
can
gonna-
do a worst-case scenario, and then we can bring it down and match it to what you
Right.
actually need after you get other bids. So I mean,
Okay.
I would think this is probably more of a 250, and this is what, about a 160? You said 33 average for 5
Right,
buildings?
so 160, 250,
410.
410?
We'll call it 4 and a quarter,
Okay,
and I'll just, actually, I'll make it 450, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Because you're gonna have about 20,000 in legal costs developing the documents and all that, so,
Okay.
between Tony and bank counsel, so.
okay. All right, so if you can do
And
that,
it'll be on a 5-year.
okay.
So you want to put it all on a loan? Or these other buildings, we're not going to pay for ourselves? Is that what, excuse me, I'm losing my voice.
So the 5 structures and the renovation is what we're talking about for the loan, right? Not the pavilion yet. I guess that would be pushed off to next year, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah,
Because then we're up to 800,000.
Again, we
Yeah.
can make a motion and do whatever we want,
Yeah.
but in my opinion, I think the bathrooms, the pro shop, and these buildings are much more important
I
than
agree.
the pavilion.
Well, what I'm saying is we could build these buildings now with the money we have.
Right.
We don't
I
have to
understand
have
what
a
you're
loan.
saying.
You know?
Well,
And-
just because he investigates a loan doesn't mean we have to take it out.
Right.
So,
But we bought the golf ball machine. I think we need to make the building to house that.
Correct.
I
right.
mean, it's sitting there.
Yep.
I know the renovations aren't going to be till next year. I think we should get the loan for that, but I'd like to try and start these buildings and use the funds that we have.
Suits me.
Your opinion, Chuck?
Okay, I'll reach out and get you a term sheet.
Okay.
So it's on to continue on the road with these 5 buildings.
go with the 5 buildings, but Chuck, you're saying that we'll get a loan, or we can use our money for the 5 buildings, but you'll get a term sheet for the building?
I'm going to get a term sheet for all of that.
I'd get a
that you
term
just
sheet
talked
for all of
about.
it and
Okay.
see what kind of interest rate comes back. And we might decide it might be better to hang on to the cash if we get a loan up
Right.
interest rate.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay.
All right, that's all I have. I don't have much voice left.
That was enough.
Such a short agenda.
But I guess though, Jeff, you're going to go out and get a couple more quotes though,
Oh,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for the 5 buildings, but for the renovation,
For the reno, yeah.
which I think makes sense too.
Okay. Jeff, you had estimates for the outdoor surveillance cameras?
Yes,
He's not
so
done.
Lisa, I'm sorry, Lisa sent me, the first company that came was 9,400. We're still waiting on the second.
Okay.
So I didn't bring them because I don't have the second one yet.
Then we'll put that on the agenda for next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're gonna put outdoor cameras on our end of the building and on the car barn. So we don't run into the issue. By the way, there's been nothing on Hank's assault.
Nothing.
Nothing. Apparently, finding a white guy in a golf shirt and a hat in Southwest Florida is pretty difficult.
I would think. Okay. All righty.
And that's all I have.
Okay. All right, so now we're here for the public hearing for the,
I really get to start talking.
okay.
Behind tab 4A is the proof of affidavit of publication that confirms that today's meeting was properly advertised as not only a regular meeting, but a budget public hearing meeting. Behind 4B is resolution 2022-11. This is the budget adoption resolution. And the exhibit to that is the actual budget itself. And as we have worked through a few times over the last several months, and as you had set your assessments at the last meeting. So in the general fund itself, the assessments are anticipated to go down from 575 to 50170 year over year. Going back through your debt service funds, it's a little funky out of order here, but you have your 2 new series, well, you have your 2014 series of bonds, and you'll note on page 7, we are in the last year of the repayment requirements, and you'll see the reduction in that reflected in your in the assessment table that I'll go over here in just a minute. On page 8 is the series 2022-1. This is actually the tax exempt bond that we had issued for the community infrastructure refurbishment. And you'll notice on page 8, the cost of issuance expense there, that has actually been realized, even though it shows as projected here on this budget itself. And I'll show you where it's been realized in your financials when we look at your financials later. On page 11 is the series 2022-2 bonds, and same thing here. You'll see the cost of issuance there. Those 2 numbers together are basically the number that Chris had referenced earlier in looking at the sources and uses of funds. And below that, you see the bond proceeds, you'll see the underwriter's discount and premium OID all netted out. And then your amortization schedules, and this is the taxable bond here, where we issued a principal amount of $7.755. On page 14 is your irrigation, your enterprise fund, and your assessments going from 74 to 116 a unit, and the direct bill for the golf courses from 70 to 112 per unit. And then on page 16 is your actual assessment table. The net difference in your assessments, in your operating assessments, is actually a reduction when you view them cumulatively year over year. The real mover that takes the number up is, of course, the 743.63 on the new series of bonds that have been issued. You'll note that the series 2013, references 2013 here, it was 2014 back in the budget portion, has been reduced from 325 to 183.75 because we are utilizing the existing debt service reserve as about 50% of max annual debt service to make that final payment. So we're only collecting what we need to match up with that to make the final payments. So the comparison year over year for anything other than the commercial is an increase from $974.52 to $1546.05. And in next year's budget, that will be reduced by the $183.75, so it'll go south another $200 approximately. When we get back into your golf course budget, I won't attempt to do any explanation of that.
Chuck, I just have one question with the irrigation budget. With the insurance, with the new building, does that affect the insurance either way?
We really won't know. We'll get that completed and let the dust settle on that, then I'll have them come and inspect it.
Okay.
So they'll have to do a field inspection on it. We'll give them a value of what we paid to have it replaced.
Okay.
Which is probably less than what it was originally, because we're not really replacing the building, we're replacing the guts and doing some work to the roof.
Okay.
So it's probably going to it may reduce your insurance, it will probably reduce your depreciation as well, because you're going to have some leftover depreciation dollars that will be applied against the new value.
Okay.
And we'll be depreciating this out over the next 20 years.
Okay. That's all I had on that one.
Are we going to discuss these budgets now, or are we going to go
This
through
will be
this?
the time.
Okay.
So fire away.
Good. First of all, I think we're going to get clobbered with this $1,500 assessment, so just be prepared. Because I believe we pretty much sold this as it was going to be pretty close to even, and that's not close to even at all. Now, from what I see, I think there's some ways to alleviate some of this. My first question is, okay, on the general fund budget, page 2, we have the 200 grand landscaping capital that we've been collecting, and I think that's where Santo was going with this.
That was part of it,
Yeah.
yes.
So we have this $200,000 that we collected over the last 4 or 5 years that is supposed to go towards these bonds. According to this budget, it's still going to be there at the end of next year. Well, I think we can take that $200,000 and apply it towards the debt service, the 2022 debt service. If we did that, based on my numbers, and these are my rough math, that's going to knock that down for $743.63 to $564.90. So roughly almost $200. Okay.
Yeah. Before I agree to that, let me run that up the flagpole, because the collection of these dollars. Yeah, I think we actually can do that.
I mean,
It's going to be on the infrastructure one, the 4.3.
either or.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to knock somebody down.
It'll go against the infrastructure one, because that actually contains the project that this money was being collected for.
That money was
So
for
what it
landscaping.
will do is we'll put that in as a prepayment. It'll be scheduled as a prepayment with your first principal payment.
Okay.
Okay, so then
So
that
that-
could reduce the debt service.
That would reduce the debt, that piece of the debt, or the debt service, that piece of the overall assessment. My second thought is, so back to page 2, we're showing a fund balance ending with $865,927, right?
Right.
At the end of next fiscal year. Now, we're just talking about taking the 200 out.
Right.
So that still leaves us roughly $665,000. Now, when we went into this whole thing of keeping that money, again, what Santo was alluding to early on in our meeting, of keeping this money on to build up these reserves, right? For hurricane, we were addressing hurricane and we were addressing landscaping. Well, in our hurricane budget, we have $300,000. When we talked about it initially, we thought, all right, if we had roughly $500,000 in this account, meaning between the $300,000 for a hurricane and roughly $200,000 in working capital, we'd be good. Because I can tell you folks, I've been on this board for a long time, there were times where there was not even $50,000 in this fund, total, even to working capital, which was way too lean. So we built this up. I think we can give ourselves another $100 break off the O&M. It would still leave us with over $500,000 at the end of next fiscal year in this account. $300,000 for catastrophe and at least another $200,000 working capital. And that knocks the assessment down by another $100. So if both of those things come through, depending on how Chuck's numbers come, that's almost a $300 reduction, which gets us down to $1,246 in our assessment, as opposed to $1,546 in the assessment. A little easier to palate, and again, it's, you know, these are monies we've set aside, and I think it's doable. I think it's totally doable. It does not leave us in a financial bind whatsoever.
How'd you come up with the $300,000 amount for catastrophic?
That's what it cost.
Yeah.
That's what Irma cost, basically.
Yeah.
I think Irma was like 250.
It was a
But
couple
then they hundred
$100,000.
changed insurance companies were a little more covered.
We're more
That's for
covered.
golf course. That's not general fund.
Yeah, debris cleanup isn't
Yeah.
insurable.
This is general fund. This is not golf course. This is
And
all
remember-
general fund money.
Everything is going up.
Yeah, I know.
So the
Right.
300 5 years ago,
Well, it was 250.
250 is probably
So
350
we've-
today, so.
Yeah, it's still not, but it's better, going into Irma, yeah, like
had nothing.
100,000 maybe, if that. So
Yeah, we were-
we've, my opinion, I think we've accomplished our goals. We can use, we need to use that $200,000 that we told everybody we were going to use. We need to apply that to the bond, period. I think that's not even open for discussion, because
But you
we
want-
told
Right.
the residents, and we told ourselves, because we pay this too, this $200,000 is going towards the bond. But I also think we can scale back $100 on the O&M assessment. Even by scaling back that $100, we will still, based on these projections, have over $500,000 in that account at the end of the next fiscal year, which is, besides right now, the more than we ever had.
Right, and we also have to look at it, even with the money that we're spending on these different things. 2 years ago, we still owed the irrigation fund $250,000. As of, I guess, last Friday, we had more cash.
That's the golf course, though.
The golf course, I know, but when we're looking at all this stuff, we're in much better positions. So-
Right, and I just, we're going to get crushed with this $1,500. We're going to get absolutely, and rightfully so.
And Chris, if you did that and you took the 183 off next year it's going to look like 1,063.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we're about where we are.
Right.
And we knew, and even when we presented this to you guys, and I think we did it right, we did say this first year there might be a little bit of pain. I mean,
Yeah.
we're coming into a new enterprise, we're not 100% sure what everything's going to be.
right.
I just think $1,200 roughly is much more palatable than almost $1,600. We had this gentleman had a question.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
I do. The 154605, is that the number we're going to see on our tax bill for the
That's-
CDD portion?
That's what Chris is just saying, that we're trying to get it down to like
Right,
1,200.
yes, but you are correct.
Is that what you're going to see every year for 30 years?
No. That's what, right now, if we don't make any of these adjustments, is what you're going to see next year. If we make no other adjustments, the 184 is going to come off next year, which would bring it down a little bit. We're trying to say that we have the 200 that we put aside for landscaping,
Right.
that we're going to attribute to here now, so that it will reduce it now. So we're hoping that the 1546 can come down to 12-something, and then the following year come down to just over 1,000, which is what we had originally said.
Yeah, we said it would be a net increase of
Like
$90 to $100,
yeah.
something like that.
So,
So
And
potentially, it could be $1,000 per household per year on your tax bill.
yes,
I'm sorry, $1,000.
1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, you have to remember, I'm not going to write that in stone because prices are going to go up. You know, costs will go up. But if we can get this down to 1,200 this year, 12-something, and then get another 185 off next year, then that'll bring it down to just over 1,000, which is what we originally anticipated. Now, the following year, I mean, gas might be $10 a gallon, so yes, costs are going to go up. But our aim is to keep it at around that $1,000, $1,050.
I think Chris is right. I mean, if that 1546 is going to be on our tax bill, people aren't going to be happy in this community.
And again, rightfully so,
Right.
because that is not how we presented this, and
Right.
I'm just being honest, and it's not how I even presented it to myself. But these numbers came in higher. You know, we did know there's startup costs involved in this.
Right.
The other thing to think about too, and again, down the road, and there's no promising, but potentially any profits we make off this building would buy this down too in the future. And we need to hold ourselves to that as well.
Or the other thing we could do too, if we're not buying the bond down, if we want to pay it out,
Right.
we could actually say, okay, this money that's in reserves from the rents, put that towards the monthly pay, the annual payment, so your tax bill would be
Right.
900, 800, you know, however we do that.
You could apply the rents towards the OMI assessment, is that what you're saying?
Towards the bond payment.
For the bond payment.
Towards the bond?
For the bond payment.
Okay.
So that would, so if we can get this down to 550 now, and then over the years, and again, what we said is the first year, 2 years, the money that we're getting in from the rent, we kind of need to keep that in reserve so we know what we're doing and where we're going. But down the road, yeah, that money should go to reduce your annual payment. And that's really what we had stated from the start. So Chuck, can we do this?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay, Chuck's working on it.
Do I need to make a motion, or can we just do it?
Well, at some point, we have to open up the public hearing, so before we make any motions to adopt the budget. So
That's a good point.
just saying.
I think what we may want to do, and Chuck's keeping track of all the various items, if there's a consensus at the tail end after the public comments and public hearing, then there would be a motion to address the various points that we discussed.
Okay, I'm sorry if I...
No, it's good. No, so that way we have, so right now, there's 2 points. One is the 200,000 to be utilized, and
And a
also...
$100 reduction in the O&M assessment.
You got it, Chuck?
I'm just trying to get the formula to work.
Playing with the
here.
numbers now. Yeah.
Okay.
To see what the ultimate unit number is.
So we're trying to get that 1,500 down, which we should be able to do based on what Chris and I have, because those were some of my hieroglyphics in here, to reduce that. Because that's not where, I don't want to pay that.
So that's really what I had to say.
Yeah, okay. Should we continue looking at the budget, Chuck, or while you're working on numbers?
So just so I'm clear, our numbers went down on the purchase of the building, so that's not what's driving up the cost of these assessments, based on our original projection when we were discussing purchasing the clubhouse. It's all the other things that have increased in cost. Is that what I'm...
No.
No, I don't think so.
No, because what happened is that the bond rates went up. Remember, we looked at it at a lower amount, and,
I thought we looked at it at a higher amount.
did we?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Chuck?
Because
I'm not 100% sure, but the numbers came in different than what we've been discussing for
what we
these
were
last few months.
discussing, but if you look at this.
Yeah, we drove the assessments for noticing based upon an additional 2 million being floated.
So we
The
came in
interest,
lower.
the interest rate, the blended interest rate almost came in right on what we were running.
Okay.
5%.
Even with you guys being
AAA.
triple, well,
Yeah, double.
Double A minus.
Double A
double A
minus.
minus rated, so.
But the total loan went down from what we originally were estimating,
What you did for noticing purposes, which drove $1,000 per
which is what we
door
were
front
basing our
assessment.
estimates
You
on.
ended up at 743, where we noticed 1,000, so.
Right.
No, so it was 1,000 and a penny. We didn't get it probably perfectly. It was 1,000 and a penny, I think. So.
But we pretty much laid this out to the community that we were only looking at maybe, like you're saying, and even you said, maybe $100, $150 more.
Right, because we're saying the
This is almost
$325.
$600.
Well, I know, where's the other 500 coming from, is my question. It's not just the purchase of the bond. This is the full budget, right?
Yeah. The irrigation assessment went up a little bit, but not much.
Not much.
Yeah, this came down 140, this went up 75.
So it's
It came
the
down
bond service payment that's driving
Yeah.
this.
It is, yeah.
Because the interest rate's higher.
So will we be able to do that, Chuck? Okay, so we can,
2 million is going for that one. I'm not going to have the final number for you on the bond, just because I've got to have, well, I've got really thick glasses on the other coast. Go ahead and plug that 200 in, because it actually just goes in and reduces the principal through the entire amortization schedule, reset the amortization schedule. You won't see $200,000 break in year one. It gets spread across the amortization schedule.
So that
Because it
won't be
goes
as
in as a
dramatic.
prepayment. It's like releasing so many properties from their assessment, they decide to prepay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how that will work.
So that won't be as substantial then?
Well, what it does, what you have done, I've taken 150,000, put that back into your revenue stream from your working capital, leaving you with working capital at 215. Okay, still reasonable. Keeping the 300 for the catastrophe response, and the 200 is being transferred out, and that reduces the general fund assessment down to 366.77 from, what was it, 501?
501.70.
So about 150.
Okay.
Yeah, well, 130,
So that brings it down to 360.
135 maybe. So
366.77 instead of
that gets you down to
517.
135. That's compared
But the
to
743.63 will
the
come
year
down some.
before, you were 575, so that's a couple $100 break year over year. You went up, 30 on the irrigation,
Yeah.
and you went down 140
50
on
something.
the 2013 piece.
Yeah.
So 140, 160, that's 300. So now you've got the net effect before we even do the 200 into the 2022 bonds. Net effect there is getting you down to 443.
I'm not following you. 443.
I just dropped the 300 off a couple of the other assessments. Well,
So from the-
net of, I'm sorry, because that's already in there, but the 183.75, you'll realize the rest of that next year. So you
Right.
get 160 off it this year, which is a part of the 1546.
So that makes it
So
13.
you're down to 1,400 with what we just did in the general fund. And if you want, I mean, I can take that down a little bit more if you want. Take it down by 200 and see what it does. That'll get you down around 165, which 25% of your operating budget, I just did that kill, is 168.
So taking the working capital down.
Down to your
Down a little bit, a little bit
bare
more.
bones that you need. I mean, knowing that you can actually borrow from your catastrophe too to offset expenses until you get all your revenue towards the end of December,
Right.
most of it. I can't commingle it in here. But what that will do in the future is once they get where they're comfortable with their reserve amount on the clubhouse building, then they're gonna have some excess revenue in that system that they
Right.
can plug into the revenue stream.
And buy it down a
And
little bit.
do it as a prepayment.
Right.
We'll slowly whittle it down. So with that, we get down to, if I do 200,000, I get you down to 165,927. 168 is the goal, and you're at 321.79. So you're about 250 and change, 254,
So that would be,
253 reduction there.
so roughly, we'd be looking at $1,250 assessment, roughly.
Now you-
And then the
and
10,
into the-
that 200,000 will buy that 743 down a little bit, not much.
It's hardly, I don't think
Yeah.
it's going to be real noticeable, but.
Yeah.
Probably not, but then next year, the 183 will come off, so
That'll
that'll
come
bring
off
it
as well.
down to 1110.
Exactly.
Right.
That's kind of what we were thinking.
Yes, okay. I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm not, I'd like it to be like 100. but I'm okay with
Wouldn't we all like that?
it. Yes. Okay.
May I should have asked this at the beginning, may I leave and call in? Oh, my
Yes.
kids are at home.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Go.
I know it's an important meeting, but I mean, everything, I think,
We just have to put your truck in, so yes, you can go.
but you need to make that a
Yeah,
meeting.
we need to make that, so we'll take care of that. Go.
And I'd call in as soon as.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm leaving Kenny out alone on his own.
Has it been a long enough day for you?
I got plenty of time.
What time did you get here this morning?
What's that?
What time did you get here this morning?
Actually, I had my boys, so I didn't get here till 7:30.
Oh, okay. Well,
so
you're
wow.
slacking.
So it's only a
I
13-hour
gotta
day?
make lunches and homework to check. I left them cleaning the baseboards, see how good a job they did.
Okay.
Oh, boy. You're going to be
Call them
popular.
shortly.
All right, thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Drive careful.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, so then we would have the assessment down to the 1293, roughly,
This year.
this year, and then the 183 will come off next year. Okay. That is much more palatable, thank you.
$77 more
Yeah,
than where we are now.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is what we expected. Okay.
Just didn't know how we were going to get there.
I was going to write you a check, but obviously I don't have to. Okay.
You want to talk about the golf course one? Ready to move on to that?
Chuck is still thinking.
Oh, I'm good. No,
Okay, all right.
it's good.
Yes, we're on the golf course one.
So basically, these are all the same numbers we looked at last time. Looking for net revenue of $201,000, which is just about equal to a bond payment, which we've talked about starting to freeze some of these bond payments to where we can pay the bond off a little bit early so John can start the major renovation of the golf course, which has got to come in the next 5 to 7 years. Not a lot of big changes. John wants to make this amendment, an amendment to line item regarding the work truck should be added to the new budget. The monthly cost for the work truck is $807.69. The budget can be adopted with this amendment. So that would go into his expense. That's all the changes we had to the budget at this time.
Did you back out the parking lot lease?
Did you back out the parking lot?
I
lease?
did in the budget, yes.
Just want to make sure that
Okay.
that's reflected. That's another action we have to have you guys take.
Yes. I had a question here. Okay, I just wanted to make sure the building maintenance, we took out the money that we were paying for the remediation, because that was paid for.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One other thing with the payroll, did you budget in, you did the increases, did you also budget in the amount for the Christmas bonus? that
Yes,
we
ma'am, I
gave?
did.
Okay. I don't want to get stuck behind that because that happened 1 year. My other expenses, Jeff, I know last year we paid a lot for the alarm because every few years they do a whole big,
Yeah.
but we're okay with that for a couple of years?
We should be. I left it in there,
Okay,
considering the fact if something happened, and then we just, don't
Okay.
pay it. Don't pay it, but it's just in case.
okay. And your storage unit, what's in there? Don't tell me storage.
No, it's paper, receipts.
We need to keep all those?
According to Mr. Pender, I do. Could probably run through that again.
Okay.
If we don't need
I
to
mean,
keep...
it's not a lot of money, but I mean, $1,000, and I mean, have you ever looked for anything?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Was it documents we're required to keep as a government entity? Or
I
what?
guess so.
I guess so, but how far back do we have to keep them in? I guess we need to just double
Usually
check.
it's 5 years.
Is it 5 or is it 7? I think governmental is 7.
I'll send Jeff an email.
Just ask him and see, and how much is there, and maybe we can clean out what we don't need. Just a thought, okay. Hi, John.
Hello.
That's that's $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, John, now that you're on the phone, all your equipment, everything is okay in the budget?
Yeah, the only issue I had was the, adding the truck.
Okay.
If you guys are okay with everything that we discussed over the past preceding month.
Right, I just wanted to make sure that all the equipment leases you had are the correct ones and everything's on there.
Yes, we didn't
Okay.
have any equipment leases due this year. We just had, what Toro did is said, listen, we're so far behind and it's looking like, when you order equipment, you're going to be 18, right now 18 months out. You might want to start ordering your leases sooner than later.
Okay,
So that was their, I don't want to call it scare tactic. I don't think that's what it really was. But, and they just gave us some numbers from that, because that's all they really did. It was just kind of signed, one of the, like a verbal agreement, basically.
okay. And the ball field
And
ma,
well, I think we will be going with them. What's that?
go ahead, continue with the lease.
Yeah, but more likely we will be going with them in the future, when these leases are up, next year, we have a big actually a big lease. More likely we're gonna go with Toro, but,
Okay,
I don't wanna pull that trigger prematurely, never say never, right? I mean, the economy could change and just everything could be, I don't wanna commit like that to them.
right, no, I agree. My other question is the ball field maintenance, did we raise that?
We spoke about it last month about raising